Okay, so welcome to this very brief webinar about our Masters in Strength and Conditioning here in GMIT. Briefly about it, it is considered a full-time Masters, 3 full semesters. We would expect people to have a 2-2 in a science-related health discipline, but we also accommodate recognised prior learning as well, and we'll definitely consider people through that route, and they'll be considered for entry as well onto the course. So with that in mind, I'm joined by 2 current students on the Masters programme, Jerry Heaney and Johnny O'Connor. And thanks very much for willing to take part today, boys. Really appreciate it.
No problem, Ed.
So lads, just to get the ball rolling, would you mind just kind of giving me, Jerry, I'll go to you first. Just give me an idea of your current working/career background and just a bit of a brief snapshot. And then, Johnny, I'll ask you the same question after that.
Yeah, sure, Ed. Thank you. So my name is Jerry Heaney. My full-time job is a secondary school teacher. So I've been teaching PE for the last 20-something years. And from a coaching perspective, I currently work with Galway United Academy. So I've been working with Galway United since 2017. So I'm currently in the role as under-17 coach of the National League team, and previously worked with the under-19 team for 4 years as coach as well. But I'm also head of athletic development for the academy. So I'm responsible for the athletic development program and the strength and conditioning program that our 4 League of Ireland squads partake in. So that's our under-14s, under-15s, under-17s and under-19s. So we play in the EA Sports National League along with most of the other League of Ireland clubs. Previous to that, I would have worked with Irish hockey, where I was a strength and conditioning coach for the Irish under-18 girls squad for 2 years. And I've also worked in GAA. So that's kind of my coaching background. I'm a UEFA B licence in soccer coach, also a level 1 hockey coach. And I've coached a number of other sports over the last number of years as well.
You've been a busy man, Jerry, in that regard.
Yeah, a little bit. Good, a little bit. Yeah, it's my pastime.
Yeah, but it's still a great breadth of sports to be involved in, though, and a huge amount of coaching backgrounds and coaching experience there as well. Johnny, do you want to maybe give us a bit of a snapshot of what you've done and where you're at the minute?
Well, currently at the moment, I'm the lead strength and conditioning coach in Connacht and working under a high performance manager. So my role entails looking after gym, power programs, speed and conditioning and on-field management. So it's a broad aspect of a role. Previous to that, I was working in professional football in an academy system for 3 to 4 years. And previous to that, I was a professional athlete. So I've been in sport, give or take, I'm getting old now, so maybe 22 years or so. And so I've been embedded and been involved in different sports with consultancy with different various hurling teams and football teams over the last previous years. But that's where I'm currently at. I have to get a real job yet. My only real job ever was working on a building site for my dad. But, I'm pretty blessed in terms of what I'm doing. I'm in a very supportive environment at the moment. So.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, nice snapshot there from the pair of you lads in terms of your careers to date and whatnot. I suppose I just have to ask the question based on that then, like why did you choose to come back and do a Masters here in GMIT?
I go first on that one, Ed. I did my degree in strength and conditioning with Setanta College, which I know Johnny would be familiar with as well through Liam Hennessy. So I did it on a part-time basis, and I kind of marry the technical and tactical side of what I do and also the physical side of what I do in terms of my coaching. So I was looking at the position that, Johnny Glynn, who's our head of academy, had given me to become to be over the athletic development program. And I felt that if I'm going to take a position like that and going to have a number of coaches work for me, that I felt maybe, doing a master's was a good idea. So people who would be in similar positions would have a master's. And I also, I suppose, wanted to look at maybe gaps in my knowledge, where I might have a lot of practical experience. I definitely felt that from a theoretical point of view, there was areas that I probably needed to look at. And I felt by doing the program in GMIT, it gave me that advantage. And me being based in Galway and it being in Galway was a huge factor as well. It's fantastic to have the college having these kind of qualifications available to people in the west of Ireland, because previous to this, we'd had to travel to other parts of the country to do it. So there was a number of factors involved in it. Yeah.
Thanks, Jerry.
Yeah, I think for me, Ed, I think it's like the practicality of it, as Jerry's already mentioned, it being local, but probably a challenging aspect to me in terms of when I studied and when I was kind of that gap. There's certain things around research and validating my own work that I wanted to explore, and certainly, like, I think sometimes you rush through these things, and I needed to get a bit deeper in that. I think just looking through the course module and stuff that was in there, it felt like, okay, this is something that can be a refresher in other parts and push you on and remind you of like your processes that you have, but also in terms of actually understanding what you're doing and able to validate that and get a bit deeper of understanding other people's research, I think was very rewarding in terms of that setting. And that was kind of the main part of it as well. And I think for progression as well, just for yourself as an individual, so myself as an individual, it's just something I felt I needed to do and get a taste of, and to see if I'd like to go further in my studies after that again. So it's been a really enjoyable process, and certainly reawakened a few ideas in terms of my own practice that you forget as well over time.
Yeah, like, I mean, it does sound, again, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I mean, it sounds as if it's adding in some regard to your professional careers at this stage in terms of how you deliver and how you practice and how you're going to probably become a more rounded practitioner. Is that a fair comment, or is that something that maybe not so much, or
No,
maybe it is? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that's you're spot on that, Ed. You know, I think in this profession, in coaching in general, I mean, the science has come on leaps and bounds, you know, from when I first started over 20 years ago on my coaching journey in different courses and different jobs that I did. So like, you have to keep abreast of what's the latest research is telling you. And one of the things that Johnny mentioned there is, you know, one of the plus points of being on the masters is getting access to a vast amount of research, and also, you know, we have to conduct research ourselves, which is certainly something that, you know, within the academy with Galway United we would like to continue into the future. You know, there's very little research in soccer in Ireland at the minute, so by maybe me getting the ball rolling from that end, it might be something that we look at in the future, and that'll then you know, help us in our practice.
Very good. Like, I mean, in terms of, I suppose I'll go to the pair view with this one, really. Like, I mean, what was it like coming back to study again? I mean, it is, you know, I'm aware you're both working and, you know, trying to balance commitments of study and whatnot. Like, so what was it like, really?
It was definitely hard before it was easy, but pretty. Look, I find it good when you start putting your thoughts on paper in terms of like getting on a computer again and putting projects together. It just really refines certainly your critical thinking, but just for me, it just gets. I find it like there's a level of achievement when you get something done, but there's this kind of effect. I think you can see things when you go so deep into one area, whatever that is, whether that be psychology or whether it's doing our current thesis or anything like that. It certainly broadened your aspect of how you look at other things then and how you plan for other things. So I found it incredibly rewarding, and I did find it difficult at the start, but once you kind of got into the flow and I suppose how things were organized and a lot of the stuff was online, it made things flow really, really easy. And I think it certainly carried over to other projects outside of what I'd be doing currently in my thesis. So I think that's a really good process to go through, even from doing your ethics form to your systematic review and tying that all together. I found it hugely beneficial in other aspects of my work at the moment.
I'd have to agree with Johnny in everything that he said there. I would say for me, it's been both rewarding and challenging. It is challenging in terms of time. You have to be very, very good on your time management, particularly maybe in semester 1 and semester 2, where you have your online lectures and where you have your continuous assessment. Maybe semester 3, you know, you're kind of working on your own time frame when it comes to the research. But I would say that I have gained. It's made me think about my practice quite a bit as well. You know, I would be maybe doing things that are now that I would have done maybe a couple of years ago, and maybe I needed a bit of a wake up call from that side of things, and that the research has moved on, is telling us different things. But I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been a fantastic. We're 14 months now into it at this stage, and I can only say good things.
Geez, time flies when you're having fun, fellas. But like, I guess just we're coming near the end of the chat now, lads. But I guess what if you'd maybe one or two pieces of advice that you'd like to give to potential applicants, to that may be thinking about applying for the master's program here in GMIT. What kind of bits of advice would you maybe like to pass over to them now? I'll go to you first, Johnny, on that one.
Well, I take action early because I've talked about this for so long, and maybe Jerry as well. We're both in that kind of like take action early because you're in 14 months down the road. You'll be nearly there and nearly finished. You don't want to be talking about it and it's an opportunity to get into it. I certainly think if you're a graduate and you've gone through this, you want to go to the next process. Don't wait around. Just keep on building that experience academically, and like whether you're working in sports or not or trying to find your way in. I think it's better to do it now, and it's something I wish I had done sooner. So like, I think if you can take action on it now and just not wait around and get into it and get stuck into it. And yes, it will be hard at times, but it will be incredibly rewarding when you eventually finish it up. But you don't want to be here in 14 months time listening to the same webinar and two other older guys that were included because myself and Jerry were so good here today.
I think Johnny has covered a lot of things there. From the practical point of view, I would say that like in doing the course, time management is really important. Like as Ed mentioned, it is a full-time course, but there may be instances where people are working while they do it, like myself and Johnny are. So, finding the time to do things and setting aside time is really, really important. It is quite intensive at times, but that is good. That's good because you're learning all of the time. I would also say to maybe somebody who's thinking of doing the course that maybe doesn't have a massive amount of coaching experience or practical coaching experience, to really look at doing as much practical work as they can, because while the theory is excellent, it's about implementing it in the field as well. So, but I would say just time would be the biggest issue for people, and it's just by being good at managing that.
Yeah, really good comments, and I think what I found from yourselves and the other students on the program as well is you've managed to integrate your research into your work, which is a hugely beneficial component from your own point of view as well. And I think that's something as a program coordinator I very much advocate for. Try and make that the research as relevant as you possibly can by bring it into your current practice and your current career. I guess in closing, the application form is on the GMIT strength and conditioning website at the minute. All the information is there. My contact details are there, as well as the program coordinator, or if you wish to choose to speak to our head of department as well, Dr. Lisa Ryan, her contact details are there as well. So plenty of avenues to contact us and drop us an email. More than happy to answer any questions that you possibly have. But closing comments are thanks very much to Jerry and Johnny for joining me today on this brief chat, and I hope you've picked up something.